Our next speaker served as United States Ambassador to Canada under President Obama. Before serving as ambassador, he served in the Obama White House as special assistant to the president for presidential personnel. Our next speaker is a graduate of Johns Hopkins University and Georgetown University Law School. He lives in Chicago with his wife, Julie, and they are the proud of two fabulous adult children. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador David Jacobson. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. As we heard in that eloquent invocation from Father Marshall, one of the things that we celebrate here in Chicago is diversity. We celebrate gender diversity, racial diversity, economic diversity, and all of those forms of diversity are also central to what we do here at the City Club. These are things that make all of us better, things that make Chicago stronger. And there are few, if any, in this city who do more to develop the next generation of diverse Chicagoans than our speaker here today. Michael Amiridis has been the Chancellor of the University of Chicago, Chicago's largest university, since 2015. He has worked to leverage the university's strengths to enhance the success and the experience of the more than 30,000 students at UIC. I am confident that Michael is going to talk about UIC's fundraising campaign, their plans for campus development, the enhanced engagement of the university in the community, in civic and in corporate life here in Chicago. But I wanted to tell a short story about something that happened to me last June. My son was receiving a master's degree in urban planning at UIC. Actually, his boss is sitting over there, and hope he's doing okay. And on the same day, my nephew was receiving a medical degree from UIC. It was a big day in my family. And Chancellor Amiridis gave me the privilege of handing out diplomas to the UIC graduates. Now, I'll tell everybody in this room, if you ever get the chance to do that, take it. It is rare that you get to greet row after row of young people with joy and hope and pride written all over their faces. But I saw something else firsthand. I saw students from every heritage. I saw students who came to Chicago from around the world, men and women, rich and not so rich, future doctors and nurses and engineers and city planners and so much more. And I saw families taking pride in the fact, for many of them, that for the first time ever, a member of their family was receiving a university degree. I saw the future of the city, of the state, and of this country. And at a time when sometimes it feels like things may not be moving in the right direction, I saw hope. And Michael and UIC are the sources of that hope. So please join me in a warm and diverse City Club welcome to the Chancellor of the University of Illinois at Chicago and my friend, Dr. Michael Amiridis.
Thank you, David. What a kind introduction. And actually, I'm glad that at some point you started talking more about UIC and less about me, because as you were going on, I had to hold the rope back from walking up to the podium and setting the record straight for me. But it's great to hear you share your experience with the university. Jay, I want to thank you, and I want to thank the City Club for this invitation. It's good to be back here after a little bit over 2 years, and I hope that at the end of the next half hour, I will still be deemed worthy of the City Club coffee mug that I came here for, actually. That was the main reason. And I want to thank all of the City Club members, all of the guests that we have here today for joining us. If you have any problem with my accent, they will start running subtitles in a few minutes, so don't worry about it. But it's a great crowd that we have. It's a great group of friends and supporters of the University of Illinois at Chicago, and Jay did a great job recognizing a number of the distinguished guests. Ed did a great job. Actually, they do something very smart here, right? When it comes to elected officials, they ask them to stand up and introduce themselves. The reason is they don't want to miss anybody, and this way they have no liability, right? My problem here is that we have so many corporate friends and friends from non-profit organizations that I will not even attempt to go through the list. You're all very welcome, and we're all delighted to have you here, as are our friends from the academic community who are with us today. But I have to acknowledge one of my bosses who is sitting right here, and I want to really acknowledge University of Illinois Board of Trustees, Ray Cepeda. Ray, do you want to stand up for a minute? And Ray is the only UIC graduate right now at the University of Illinois board. It's been a little bit over 2 years since I was here last. And what a 2 years it has been. How many things have changed during this period? We even have a state budget by now. I thought it was impossible to have a state budget in Illinois. That's all that I knew at the beginning that I was here. But, well, I hope I don't have to be used to it for once every 2 years. But one thing that hasn't changed, however, and I'm proud to report to you, is that UIC still remains undefeated in football. We haven't lost a game, and we continue to have this record. Right? Not too many others. Listen Northwestern, listen University of Illinois at Urbana, they can't claim this. All right, joking aside, we have built a lot of momentum during the last 2 years. Whether it's the record-breaking enrollments, whether it's the national and international recognition and attention that this university receives, whether it's our expanding capital infrastructure or the record-breaking healthcare services that we offer, they all point to the same direction, a direction of growth and vitality, and they provide strong evidence of momentum. And all this has happened under the current financial environment in the state, but even more importantly, while the landscape of higher education sector is changing at the national level at a rapid pace. In fact, one could argue that for almost a decade now, higher education across the country is facing an existential crisis. I know that most of you have read the sometimes thoughtful and sometimes less thoughtful analysis and opinion editorials in the press. You have heard the voices that suggest that our product is not working, that our cost is ridiculously high, and that our management model is antiquated. In fact, sometimes they have used the term Byzantine, that we have a Byzantine management model. Now, as a Greek, to me, sounds good. They were the glory days of the empire, right? But if you take all of this under account, right, and you add to this the changing demographics that we face, especially here in the Midwest, you have a fairly good version of a perfect storm. I'm the first to admit that there is an element of truth in each one of these statements, and there is a number of things that we need to change in our universities. But we cannot allow the challenges that we face as higher education to be exaggerated. And we cannot allow these challenges to be used as the instrument to question the value of higher education as a public good by some who prefer to see higher education to be treated as a private benefit instead of a public good. More than 100 years ago, Andrew Carnegie compared higher education to a social ladder. A ladder that allows talented individuals to improve their socioeconomic status and to advance. A ladder that can break generational cycles of poverty. A ladder that we desperately need right now. This is exactly what my institution, this is exactly what UAC does. Our ladder of social advancement is broad, and our ladder runs deep, as I will show you in a few minutes. And this is the definition of the public good that we need to protect in higher education. In our leadership and management courses that we teach, we tell our students that in a time of crisis, the most important responsibility of the leadership is to protect the institutions, the organization's core values. And this is exactly what we have done over the last few years at UAC. We have focused on our public mission, protecting access and excellence. And in order to do so, we have shown in practice the spirit of innovation expected from a leading research university. Of course, these are claims and these are words that you would expect anyone in my position to come and tell you. But I'm here today to substantiate with evidence, data, and numbers. I have this disadvantage. I'm an engineer, I love numbers, what I have said so far. So, we are in our third year of all-time record university enrollment, which surpassed 30,500 students this fall. By far the largest university in the city and the second largest in the state. Students and their families vote with their feet. And our record enrollments is a vote of confidence. A vote of confidence for UIC and a vote of confidence for the city of Chicago. Let me put this into perspective. Last fall, when every public university in the state of Illinois was down in freshman enrollments, we were up 23%. 23% up in a down market, bringing in more than 4,000 new freshmen to campus for the first time in our history. Add to this a 12% increase in transfers, more than 2,100 students transferred to us from the Chicago City Colleges, from the College of DuPage, from many other institutions, and you end up with over 6,000 new students, undergraduate students at UAC last August. We are bursting through the seams. Among our freshman class, 36% are Chicago public school graduates. 43% are the first in their family to go to college. 53% are Pell Grant recipients. In the state of Illinois, that means that they come from families with family income $35,000 and below. 53% of our undergraduates. 74% are students of color. When you count together the Latinos, the African Americans, and the Asian American students, and more than 90% of them are from the state of Illinois. This is what commitment to the public mission means. And these are the numbers to back it up. People often ask me in the last few months, why UAC? The reason the students come to UAC and to the city of Chicago is because they recognize the quality and the value of our institution. To put it in simple terms, it's because we are really good and it's because they're really smart and they figure it out. Our students can also do the math. They know that we have held tuition constant for the last 4 years. And they know that we guarantee the same tuition for the entire period of their study, for 4 years of study. So in fact, a senior graduating in 4 years from now, from UIC in 2022, will be paying the same tuition as a freshman who entered UIC in 2014. That's what they understand. And they also know that in addition to the federal aid and to the MAP grants, we provide $60 million of scholarships every year from our own budget. This is what affordability, commitment to affordability means, and these are the numbers to back it up. The Wall Street Journal recognizes the success that our students have. In their rankings, that place much greater emphasis on outputs and the success of the students that we accept, rather than inputs and the quality of the students that we reject, which is what US News does. UAC was ranked 23rd in the country among public universities, ahead of half of the Big Ten schools. And Seri is working this out from back there. Seri, leave this up for a few more seconds so people can see the list, not only the position of UIC, but can see the list of the schools under UIC. This is a clear mark of excellence. And it should not come as a surprise, because excellence is what you expect from a top-tier research university. We are expected to demonstrate new ideas, discoveries, and innovations in the classroom, in the research labs, and in our healthcare system. But we are also expected to demonstrate new ideas and innovations in the way that we conduct our own business. UAC is a major research engine that brings over $355 million in new awards annually here in Chicago. Whether it's developing a retroviral therapy to treat drug-resistant HIV, or a new blockbuster singles drug, whether it's creating an artificial leaf to capture solar energy, or perfecting robotic surgery, or whether it's addressing the root causes of educational inequities in our neighborhoods, or understanding the tragedies of human trafficking, the research and scholarship of our faculty members is at the forefront of national and international issues. And we definitely know not only how to write papers and go to conferences, but we know how to implement solutions and how to move scientific discoveries to the marketplace. In financial year 2017, license of our intellectual property generated more than $28 million in royalties. This places UAC among the top 20 universities in the country, public and private, in revenue from intellectual property licenses. Our IP has also resulted in 35 active startup ventures, and they range from a company developing a capsule to help identify the presence of esophageal inflammation leading to faster treatment, to a company that has created a battery that stores effectively thermal energy. UIC researchers have over 300 active patents right now in their portfolio, and I have to tell you, are very careful to patent because of the costs. So are not liberal with patenting. And this is exactly what scientific innovation in action means. There's also a special place at the near west side at UAC. This is a place where research meets education. We call it the Innovation Center. And there are people who come from all over the world to watch how we are doing it. This is what I describe as a research playground, where undergraduate students, graduate students, and faculty get together to address real technical problems defined and funded by our partners. And our partners are Caterpillar, BMW, and Baxter. This is also an example of the innovation that I was referring to. And while through our research we have the potential to impact people around the world, our healthcare system delivers quality care primarily to the people of Chicago and the state of Illinois, and I'm delighted to see some of our colleagues from other hospitals being with us today. With a 495-bed tertiary care hospital, 22 outpatient clinics, and 11 federally qualified health centers, that's unique for a university to have an FQHC center like this throughout the city. We provide comprehensive care to the people who need it most in our underserved and underinsured communities. But we also provide the highest level of specialty care to everyone. In fact, we have the first robotic surgery center of excellence in the United States, and our doctors have pioneered more than 30 robotic surgical procedures. There is a great advantage in this area because the recovery time, when you have a much smaller way of coming in during surgery, is much shorter. We are second in the city in kidney and liver transplants, and we are one of the very few places in the world qualified to implant an artificial retinal device. The media, in their stories, have called this the bionic eye, in individuals who suffer blindness due to retinitis pigmentosa. Somebody recently asked me, is this like the goggles that they wear in Star Trek? And I said, that's exactly what it looks like. This is what excellence and innovation in healthcare mean. The spirit of innovation characterizes every aspect of our healthcare operation. In fact, our hospital leadership is expected to think outside of the box. Last year, for example, we launched a pilot program called Better Health Through Housing to provide housing and intensive case management for some of the chronically ill, homeless emergency department patients. Without a secure home base, these patients, once that they are released from the emergency department, they really don't get healthy. They go back the next day or 2 days later. The pilot project was a great success, and the hospital recently decided to extend it. More importantly, several other hospitals in Chicago are considering starting similar housing programs, or they may have already started them, and I don't know about it. There is a very simple reason for doing so. This program reduces the number of almost daily emergency room visits by the same small number of people, and not only improves their health, but also saves a lot of money in the operation of the hospital. Let me move away from healthcare for a minute and tell you that also this year we're in the process of updating our campus master plan to improve UIC facilities and grounds over the next decade. Our capital infrastructure is old. It must and will reflect the quality and impact of this institution in order for us to achieve our educational, our research, and engagement goals. For us to attract the best faculty and staff, we need a better infrastructure, and for us to provide the best experience for our students, we need a better infrastructure, and our students deserve it. But we didn't want to wait until all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed in the plan that we're putting together, and in the past 3 months, we already broke ground on 2 major projects that will enable our campus to meet our commitment to access and excellence. In November, we broke ground on a new engineering innovation building, the first new academic building on the East Campus since 1991. This is before the large majority of our students were even born. While demand for an engineering education is up everywhere, the demand for UIC's College of Engineering is skyrocketing, outpacing national growth. And it will probably come as a surprise to most of you if I tell you that right now at UIC, the College of Engineering has approximately 5,000 students. Just 2 weeks ago, we also celebrated another groundbreaking for a 100 million academic and residential complex. This complex is part of a public-private partnership with American Campus Communities, the nation's largest developer, owner, and manager of high-quality student housing communities. This new facility will not only revitalize campus housing, adding 550 new beds, but will also provide more than 50,000 much-needed square feet of academic space. By creating an innovative public-private partnership in this case, we're able to address our capital infrastructure needs in the current fiscal environment. We're not putting a dollar down for any of this. It's the developer who is taking this step. This is a less expensive, after all, if you look at the total, and much faster process than our traditional state processes. Delivery time for the complex is 18 months. A project that we run through the regular channels for us is close to 3 years. And I know it will happen in 18 months. We shut down the parking lot where this project is going to be on December 22nd, and equipment moved in on December 22nd. And in fact, they started digging on December 23rd. Now, these 2 facilities are just the beginning. Stay tuned, and I know we have a number of folks from the architectural community, from the engineering community here. Stay tuned for an exciting master plan that we will be unveiling later this year, supporting and enabling the achievement of our strategic priorities. A plan that looks into the future of higher education with the same spirit of innovation that I have been talking about today. A plan that will not only change UIC, but will also affect the entire West Loop. You probably follow the news. Recent news that you may have heard from USC also include our decision to explore the possibility of the John Marshall Law School becoming part of our university. And I'm delighted to see here today Dean Darby Dickerson and members of the Marshall Board of Trustees, including the House Minority Leader, Leader Durkin. You may not know it, he serves on the Board of Trustees of John Marshall. There is a natural alignment that exists between UIC's public mission and Marshall's commitment to provide access and opportunity to Chicago's aspiring law students. But there's also a hole, right? There is an empty space in UIC's academic canvas waiting for 50 years now for a law school to fill it. There is a gap without a law school that affects our ability to fulfill our mission. In our College of Urban Planning and Public Affairs, we're educating the future leaders in public administration with one of the best programs in the country. And we need to introduce them to the legal component of their future work. In our College of Engineering, we're preparing leaders in technology, and we need to educate them on the intellectual property issues that they will face. From the School of Public Health, one of the best schools of public health in the nation, we're graduating the next policy leaders in this field. And we need to teach them how to write the law. And finally, in the research and community engagement, our faculty members from various disciplines address educational, healthcare, economic, and criminal justice inequities in our neighborhoods. This is one of our core strengths in terms of scholarship. And they need the law faculty to supplement and enrich their efforts through their own scholarship and research. It's about time that we fill this void in our university. It's about time that we open our doors to those who teach the law and to those who study the law. And it's about time, if our due diligence and all the work that we do works out, as we welcome the Marshall alumni, it would be about time also to start generating UIC alumni who practice the law, who judge the law, and who write the law. And if we really want to see the legal profession diversified in Chicago, Marshall and UIC combined hold the key to the solution. These are the reasons we are going through this process, and these are the benefits for Chicago and for the state of Illinois. I hope I have shown you by now how UIC is defying the trends. I love this expression, thank you cranes for thinking about it. We wouldn't have thought about it. It's great to show you how UIC is defying the trends and building momentum. With our focus on the public mission, with pride for the marks of excellence and the legacy of access, and with a confidence on our ability to innovate, we look to the future with optimism. Our graduates that you see behind me, they're up there, okay. Well, I have to check, guys, are just a few of the 250,000 alumni, 170,000 of them strong here in Chicago, who excel in the world of business, in the world of news and entertainment, in the world of sports, and I'm sorry, Chicago Cubs fans, I have to put Curtis up there, and in the world of healthcare. And of course, as expected, Chicago's best forum, the City Club, recognizes impact first and repeatedly invites our alumni as speakers. So let's put these guys up. This is where they get their best speakers, is what I hear.
Number one.
So collectively, all of our alumni are a living proof that Mayor Daley's vision has been realized. And 50-some years later, Chicago is home to the best urban-serving public research university in the country. I want to thank you for your support. It's an honor and a privilege to serve as the Chancellor of the University of Illinois for Chicago.
Don't go away. Byzantine, huh? You rank up there as the orators with Plato, Aristotle, Michael Paleologus, and others. Wonderful to have you here. Anyhow, we have a couple of questions, and the staff is here if anyone has a question. I see there's one in the back of the room. I see a couple of hands up. They'll eventually work their way up here.
And by the way, the UIC people, if it gets hard, feel free to throw some softballs so you gain time, right?
Absolutely. Just remember who's responsible for your
Yeah, paycheck.
paycheck. Okay.
Thank you.
So your wife hasn't seen this yet, I understand.
No, she hasn't.
Tremendous. Well, it's a great story, and we mentioned so many people here from UIC, and we want to say a special thanks to the new interim vice chancellor for public and governmental affairs, Teresa Mintel, sitting over here. Teresa, thank you very much. Okay, this is from Anthony Lobello. Can you describe or discuss how the university is, hard to read, smoothing the pathway from high school to UIC, specifically for those who might have stumbled along the way?
That's a very, very good question to ask, especially because a number of the students that we serve, with the background that they have, either educational or socioeconomic background, they need some help along the way. So at UIC, there is a number of programs that we implement in order to help these students. And they range from the academic, the hardcore academic, to issues related to professional development. How do you write a resume? How do you sit down to have dinner with a recruiter? How do you present yourself? To cultural issues, how do you integrate with others? I think the question is focusing more on the academic side. Right? So there we have a couple of entry programs, specific entry programs that is volunteer. We don't enforce the students to do it, but if they wish, for free, they come for a few weeks the summer before they come to college, and we try to address any kinds of gaps that they have in their education at that point. This program has proven to be very good, and we have very significant changes in retention and graduation rates between these people who take this program, people who don't. So we're seriously thinking now to make it mandatory, actually, for the students that we believe that they need this work.
Okay, thank you. This is from Sashi Singh. How does the university plan to break the silos among different departments?
What silos? The Innovation Center that I talked about is one such an example of how do we break the silos both in terms of education and research. The Innovation Center is funded and supported by the Colleges of Engineering, Medicine, Business, and Architecture, Design, and the Arts. They bring all the students together, right, from these different colleges and the faculty members, and they teach interdisciplinary classes. The same is happening, it's in its infancy now, but it has started happening in healthcare education. We are bringing the students from the different healthcare colleges, and we have the entire portfolio of healthcare colleges, and nursing there is one of the leaders in this area, bringing them together to take an interdisciplinary health education class, because you know the way that we educate the health professionals, we educate them separately, and we think that the minute they graduate, something magic will happen, and they will work very nicely together in a team. Usually it doesn't. It takes a while, right? So we're trying to do exactly the same thing there. Another example is our college, or our Department of Bioengineering. It's a unique entity in the country because the chair of that department and the faculty of that department and the students belong to both medicine and engineering. Usually you find it in one or the other areas. And again, that's another example of success. Do we need more of this? Yes, we do. We're working along these lines.
Okay, thank you. This is from Victor Dixon, who's with the Safer Foundation. Could you talk about UIC's plans to utilize its resources to spur economic development in the poorer communities near the university?
We view this as a responsibility of a land-grant institution. Remember, we are part of the land grant system here in Illinois, which was created for the betterment of lives of the people surrounding these universities. At that time, 1860s, right, when the Morrill Act was voted, that meant agriculture. Today is a different environment. That means urban environments. So we are engaged in the local community. We need to do more in the West Side. And of course, if I stand here and tell you that UIC has the solutions on how to develop economically the West Side, you should think that I'm delusional, right? One institution alone cannot do it. We need partnership with other institutions. We need partnership with the state and local government. We're heading in this direction. We're heading in this direction. The fact that we are talking about a new economic development district, fairly close to where we are, the fact that we are talking about expanding our presence in the Illinois Medical District, supporting what Suzette McKinney and the IMD is doing exactly along these lines, is what we are trying to deliver and what we're trying to contribute. But make no mistake, I mean, this will take an effort by more than one university.
Okay, thank you. Some of this must be inside baseball, Chancellor, because there's a lot of... Okay, we see the university is making a push to increase the quality and the quantity of its residential stock. Will the university continue to explore alternative models like P3? You know about P3?
Yep.
Good, because I don't, for this renewal.
So P3 is not a secret weapon, although it could be a secret weapon. P3 is a public-private partnership, right? So basically the question is, as you bring your master plan, and whoever wrote this question knows that some of our residence hall needs upgrading, but some of our actually regular classes need upgrading as well. Are you going to use this vehicle that you're using for the first project that you described? The answer is absolutely. Because in the current environment, we don't have a lot of money, and we love the principle of using OPM, other people's money, right? So we'll use other people's money in order to build the infrastructure that we need, and that's exactly what the P3 brings to the table.
Okay. This is from former U of I Board Chairman Larry Epley. Larry, where are you? Thank you very much for your service to the U of I. His question is more of a comment. Folks might be surprised at the academic and research prowess of UIC. Could you talk about that briefly?
I think what makes UIC unique at a national scale, because we struggle trying to find out which are our peer institutions. When you look at our undergraduate demographics, right, and you look at our undergraduate profile, we look like inner city urban schools, Cleveland State, Georgia State, Wayne State. But then when you look at our research profile, when you look at the numbers that I show you, the recognition that we get, the top-notch programs that we have on the graduate side, we look like the top research universities in the country. If you combine these together, there's nobody else that looks like UIC. I think that's why people sometimes are surprised to hear about the power that UIC has on the research arena, because most of the folks here in Illinois know UIC as an undergraduate institution. And quite frankly, when you look at the schools that they're like us in terms of research, the big publics, the powerhouses, flagship universities, their undergraduate population looks more like me. It doesn't sound like me, but it looks like me. That's why I think David was talking about hope. We represent the future. And we have represented the future for quite some time. Now is the time. We are at the right place, at the right time. And with a combination of the research, which shows you quality, academic quality, and the undergraduate population that we serve, I think the future is ours.
Thank you. Okay, this is from Fred Sigmund. Fred, where are you? Right back there. Interesting question. Regarding the growth of online education, what do you think will be the impact on existing physical capacity. What sort of new competitive challenges will online education have in competition with other academic institutions?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Especially after, a few years ago, when the first MOOCs started going out. These are the MOOCs, is the mega internet courses that a number of universities put together. There were people that they were already projecting the end of higher education as we see it. Coursera, I think at that point, was saying that in 20 years from now, the CEO at that time was saying that in 20 years from now, there are going to be only 6 universities in the country. That's all that we need, and they would be one of them. Now, the new CIO is saying something different. That's a different story. Technology is a tool. It's a great tool. It's a tool that we need to take advantage of. This ability, right, to serve students using technology, using online education, should not be overlooked or dismissed in any way. It's a wonderful tool. It's like new books, books that talk to you, books that they ask you to do things, right? Is this going to replace the university? The answer is no, in my opinion. It will help us with capital infrastructure, and I'll come back to this, but it's not going to replace the universities. In the 1st century AD, Plutarch said, "A mind is not a vessel to be filled, it's a fire to be kindled." A mind is not a vessel to be filled, it's a fire to be kindled. We're not teaching information anymore. You can pick this up, I'll give you my cell phone, you can download everything, you can get very quickly what you need. But you cannot turn on a fire. You cannot light up a fire through the cell phone. You need the interaction, especially for students like the ones that we serve. A lot of these mega internet courses, they're actually addressing whiz kids from all over the world, practicing professionals, but not our 18-year-olds. Now, that doesn't mean don't use it. Use it in the classroom. Take advantage of it. Take the flexibility that it gives you to flip the classroom. Give them the content ahead of time and then bring them into the classroom in order to light up the fire, in order to have the discussion, to help them understand what they heard. So I think the future is a mixed mode. I think the future has the technological component, but continues to have the one-to-one interaction and analysis. Now, the technology, if we use it right, diminishes the pressure on the capital infrastructure, so you may not need the total capital infrastructure, but it's not going to go away. Bricks and mortar is going to be there 50 and 100 years from now.
Okay. Time for one last question. You talked about potential merger with the John Marshall Law School with the University of Illinois here at Chicago. So that would be the only public law school in the city of Chicago then. The question was, John Marshall over the years has probably built up a foundation that includes certain revenues in that. How do you see that working out in this sort of merger?
Yeah, so there's still work that we're doing together with our partners at Marshall. We need to look at all of these details. We need to make sure that they owe it to their board to do their own due diligence. We owe it to our board to do our own due diligence. So all of these questions at this point, all that I can say is that we are looking into them, and there is work that needs to be done before we reach a point that we can come out and say we have figured everything out. Some of them we have figured them out, some of them we haven't yet. So we're working on it.
Well, as many of us here are alums, including myself, Navy Pier, UIC, University of Illinois in Champaign, and more, we wish you the best of luck on that, Chancellor.
Thank you.
But don't go away. Don't go away.